So I thought it would be good just to contextualise the market, and again this plays out into the external world as well, but a little bit of a thought process on this as well, especially when you're thinking about online advocacy and employee advocacy, as well as thinking about your external communication. It's three groups really. It's the 1990 rule. Influencers, 1% of influencers. And these are the drivers to come about a specific topic. They're really passionate about that topic, create that content, and others will listen to them because they are influential. And you know who they are. If you're on Twitter and you're following some people, you might. But also that happens also in employee communications. You will have people that people follow. And that is what happens. Then we have the 9% that share, repackage that content. They're avid sharers. They create that content. And they share that amongst their network, and they'll build their network. They may not write it themselves, but they're very passionate about supporting that brand, supporting that topic, supporting that communication. And again, you need to harness those individuals. And they provide sometimes their own point of view as well. But again, they're very, very important. And the final 90% are those that listen and learn. They're the enthusiasts. This is the majority of people, okay? And they are relying heavily on word of mouth. They're listening. They may not engage in the conversation. They're listening and they're taking notes, all right? And so that's sort of the 1 to 9 to 90 ratio. And again, that plays out when you're doing external communications or marketing. But here we're talking about employees, and it's the same effect within employees. And Victoria will talk to you a little bit about how they harness those advocates in online and how they've changed a few of the things they've done to make sure they're making the most of the 1%, harnessing the 9%, to make sure they reach, you know, a very large audience within, obviously, BT. So what's the market opportunity? And there's this is based on some research. It's here, you probably can't read it, it's based on some external research. And we just thought I'd give you some context as well, because what is happening here, employees, is they're looking to drive the awareness of the conversation. They're considering that piece of content. They're deciding whether they prefer it, and then whether they purchase, either if that's external, or they're actually believing in that message as an employee. So look here, 92% continue to say peer recommendations are the most credible, and exactly the same thing happens inside an organisation. Okay, this is where you can start to see brand transformations, when people start to believe and become advocates of that story. This one relates to business and technology. 65% engage with colleagues and peers within social media. So again, going back to that 1 to 9 to 90 ratio, colleagues are following other colleagues, and they'll gravitate to those key individuals. And again, you need to harness those key individuals in order to drive the 9%, which will then drive the 90%. 67% of people find they like themselves, like yourself, employees of a company credible and trustworthy when seeking information again. So the search, it's that Google, you know, within the intranet. I'm going to search and find people. I know that that person's an expert on this topic. This person's really strong at that. So I'm going to search them out, find them, follow them on my internal systems. Or I'm going to follow them on Twitter because I like what he or she says. So again, it's that type of thing. And this is B2B related. 94% of B2B business decision makers do the research before buying. And indeed, Google will tell you that 57% of B2B purchases made before they've even gone to that company's website. And that's exactly the same in internal comms. It's that ability to know and seek out that information that makes it really, really important. And why having internal comms with the right channels, with the right content, segmented the right people, doing various different types of techniques and channels is so important in building your brand and your advocacy, because it does have an effect on the business performance. So the impact of it is more than just sharing content. You know, lots of 1 to 9 to 90, you can share that content easily, that's fine, but actually it's doing more than that. And that's where you can start to see true business impact. Yes, it drives business awareness. If you have 93,000 employees, like BT does, you have a huge army of people who can be advocates of your brand. Not just they feel good about working for you, but they also feel good about telling other people about what the great initiatives they are doing across the business, whether it is in BT, TV or sport, which we're we hear about today, or other parts of the business. And so other people will be willing to go, okay, that's really interesting. I'm looking at a new package from a provider. Who do I go to? Oh, I trust that person. And I'll go and buy, in this case, BT or other providers. You can also change perception. If you're having a struggle in your perception, brands are trying to pivot away from being known as one type of thing to something else, or they're moving into a new market, or they're moving into a new discipline. Again, you need to find and change brand perceptions, and you've got to start at home. You've got to educate existing customers with a change. So, for example, if they're supporting the launch of a new iPhone, for example, you need to educate so many more people so that they can then be the brand advocates. So that internal comms is so important when you're launching or supporting, for example, a product, so like BT has done this week through its BE with iPhone, for example, or the new Samsung, or LG, or whoever else they're going to support. Whether it's B2B or B2C, employees can help fill the pipeline. If they are being an advocate of the brand, it has a knock-on effect on business. They can also be there to help customers as well. You know, out there in the market, you're seeing people, you know, there are controls and mechanisms for communications, but they can still help and guide people to the right places. And they can provide insights and innovation. We're hearing lots of stories around people using technology internally to drive innovation for customers. So effectively, they're crowdsourcing ideas, all right, for the benefit of customers. So the big consulting firms are crowdsourcing all their employees for creative, rather than just relying on a 12-person team. They're crowdsourcing ideas from around the world in order to solve their customers' pain points, driving innovation. And influence peers to buy as well. So stakeholder values, I'm not going to go too much into this, but you know, you've got your brand and then you've got your employees. So strategic planning, training, development, really important employee element. If you have happy employees and high morale, that will have an impact on the brand. Victoria will talk to you a little bit about that in a minute, about making sure the house is happy. And then customers, you know, thought leadership, social sense into the brand, but that will then have a knock-on effect here. You're driving thought leadership, you're launching something into the market, tell your employees first so they can be advocates, then you tell the market. And again, Victoria will tell you a little bit about the ethos that BT has in terms of telling employees as much as telling their customers. There's two types of employee programs. There's the brand amplification. All right, it's pretty obvious around that, right? Sharing the broader message around the brand. And then there's brand journalism, which is content. You're seeing more and more brands move into content. Coca-Cola is a great example of a brand that does a lot of brand journalism with their employees, getting their employees to share examples. That could be imagery, it could be through social channels, Instagram, all that sort of thing, as well as long form, short form. There's two types of comms you can do. So brand, there's a content curation, getting employees to share their thoughts, their experiences. Indeed, we're doing the same. I think Charlotte here went to the US. So she shared a piece about what it was like to travel to the US. That's not part of our brand, because that's something that we're very passionate about in terms of globalization. So again, it's getting employees to share their experiences, and that's something we do ourselves a lot. So define the guiding principles. And again, you've got a plan, you identify, activate, amplify. All around this is the employee experience. And again, Victoria will tell you a little bit about lessons learned in her role, about what they learned and how they adapted to make sure the employee experience mirrored what the brand image was. And sometimes when you're trying to change a brand perception, you also have to change the way you do things. You can't just do the old way of doing it because we've always done it. We're trying to become, you know, in a different position, trying to move from maybe, you know, one type of company to another. You've got to reflect, everything's reflective of that. You've got to really think about what that looks like to the end user and the listener. The content itself must be really compelling, and again, I'll talk to you a little bit about that in a second. And of course, we'll get on to things around measurement. And it is measurement month as well. So it's not just social media week, it's also AMIC measurement month, and Lewis is a big proponent of that. and we're going to talk a little bit about measurement at the back end. Victoria's got some amazing examples of how employee advocacy has an impact on the company, on the business performance of the company. So I won't steal thunder. So the operations of employee advocacy, goals, set your goals. It's like any marketing program, any company, you've got to set goals and ambitions. What is it? What do we want to achieve with our program? Does it align with our wider marketing and strategic objectives? And of course, that starts from the top. It starts literally at the top of the company. So whether it's Lewis, who's our CEO, or indeed when Victoria has to work with the CEO of BT, what do we want, and it flows all the way through. Again, it comes back to how does that brand is perceived. Program logistics, how long will it last, when are we going to do it, where do we do it? And for small organisations, it may be a bit easier, or maybe with a few offices. But the bigger the organisation, with a huge number of offices and huge number, it gets much harder. So therefore you have to think about the technologies and the platforms, and we get to the technology here. Do you have the technology in order to be successful? We talked briefly earlier about social media policy to make sure everyone is on board and not getting caught out. But you also have to have stakeholder collaboration. So this is just a few of the things you need to think about. So sure, content adds value. So is it YouTube? Does it help me do something or solve a problem, for example? Does it entertain me? Again, that's really important. If the content is dull, they won't engage with it. They will just turn it off. But if it's engaging and powerful, and some companies are going to be blessed with good content, so Victoria's going to be blessed with good content, but may have to do something else in order to reach the employee. Other companies will need to create the content, but they may have the platform. So each company is going to be different. And then here, information, current news and views. Are you sharing that type of thing? And emotion. And again, if you're trying to change a brand, can't make it dull, and so people don't engage. It's got to be emotive. Some stories will be emotive about their experience, and some will be more corporate. It's the blend of them, and knowing when to use them and when and how to use them, and the subtlety and nuance of that. That's why employee advocacy and internal comms is so important, and it's not something you can just do. You have to have experts to do. You have to have people who know what they're talking about do this, because it's a fine art. So I'm nearly done. So that would be good for you, because you can actually hear about something else actually much more interesting. Is measurement. All right, and this is really important. And when Victoria and I met up to talk about this, we talked about measurement, and I'm a bit of a measurement sort of geek when it comes to it. It's so important because the simple question that I'm being asked by our client bosses is, what are you going to do for my business? It's exactly the same question Victoria has to answer to her bosses. What are you going to do? How is this going to help my business? So you need to be able to measure that. You need to be able to say, how is this work going to have an organisational impact? Not just, I've got 23 likes on the internal Facebook or whatever, but these tweets have got shared loads. That's terrific, and but is it having an impact? You need to measure that. We've been working quite closely with a company called Dynamic Signal. We're hopefully going to launch something later this year with them around this. But they can actually, in a B2B world, this is what this one's for, in a B2B world, they can link employee advocacy leads generated by the shares of those employees. So that's how sophisticated measurement can get. But you can also measure in other areas. You can measure, your staff churn. Your employee, if you do staff surveys, has that gone up? Is morale improving? Are people more passionate about the brand than they were 6 or 12 months ago? Are they more willing to recommend that brand if you do those internal surveys? But you can also tie it through to employee, and then you can link that through business performance as well. And again, Victoria can talk a little bit about that. But if you have a low morale in your office, and you can measure, we've got only 20% of the company is happy and I want to leave, and all that sort of staff surveys, and you kind of bury your head and go, oh no. Then you need to do employee advocacy, you need to do an internal comms job. But you can measure that. So you've got your benchmark, and you can start to measure employee happiness. You can link it to sales as well. So if your business is performing, and your staff are saying they're really happy, and your staff churn is down to 15%, then you can probably link the fact that you've got low staff churn, they're happy, with the fact that you're also doing quite well in business. And then, brand awareness. Is your brand going up? Are you getting more people out there sharing? Has your amplification of your content increased because you are activating your employees to spread the word. And lots of businesses are doing that right now. So that's how you can measure, and again, there are frameworks you can use. So it is AMEC Measurement Month, and they have launched a new framework you can use. It's to design itself. I encourage you to go and have a look at amec.org.com, and you can find the framework there. And again, helps you measure. But Victoria will give you examples of how BT TV and BT Sport are measuring their employee advocacy and the impact it is having on their business. So, before I hand over to Victoria, has anyone got any questions? Well, we'll have questions at the end, but just any questions before I hand over to who's actually here from BT? Yes?
You talked about advocacy, employee advocacy, and brand journalism. How do you how do you manage them not posting something that's negative? For instance, if you're encouraging them to post generally about your brand, how do you prevent them posting something negative rather than positive?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you've got to have employee guidelines and policies and make sure it's very clear, and that they shouldn't be, if they're representing a company, that they are a representative of a company, therefore they probably shouldn't be tweeting or Facebooking something that's negative about that brand. Otherwise, there are implications. So I think that's where employee social policies and training comes in. So you can say, look, you're there to be an advocate of the brand, you are representative of that brand, and therefore you should be wise not to be negative about that brand, or there are potential repercussions on that as well. It's like sharing sensitive information. Again, there are repercussions on that. We've done a lot of work with clients in the financial sector about implications, especially with brands that are listed, investors, serious implications for those. The same goes if someone's negative, and there's loads of case studies of people who've been negative about their experience, and sometimes they lose their work, they lose their job. So they should just be smart and they probably don't do it. They want to be smart about it. So that's enough about me or us and our take on employee advocacy. I just want to now hand it over to Victoria to talk to you a little bit about what BT TV and BT Sport does. Victoria,
hi everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me here this morning. Giles has sort of said I'm Victoria Entwistle, so I'm the internal communications lead for BT TV and Sport. And he asked me to just come along and just share with you some real life examples of what we as an organisation, both through TV and sport, because we're quite very new organisations, and also a little bit more about BT and how we've been able to use the content and develop new ways of communicating through the content that we have with TV and sport that's enabled the rest of our business, I think, to have some really positive outcomes as well. So a bit about BT, first and foremost. So we're probably the UK's largest communication service provider. Your broadband, your TV, your phone lines, all come, BT. And we are actually 7 companies in one. So there are 7 businesses, including EE. So we acquired EE this year as well. I originally told Giles this week that we had 90,000 employees, but we actually have 102,500 employees. So
HR's been busy.
Yeah. So for us, employee advocacy is massive. If just one person has a conversation with their brother, their sister, their mum and their dad, that is 500,000 people that we have positively influenced. And I think definitely for TV and sport, I would say that the phenomenal growth that we have had as an organisation against, let's face it, a very well established big player, our main competitor, it's been a really powerful story, and I think employee is absolutely at the heart of that. As I said, 102,500 employees, creating £24 billion worth of revenue each year. And the area of business that we sit in, consumer, is 24% of that revenue. So, a quarter of the company comes through consumer. We have about 9,000 employees in consumer, a lot in our call centres, etc. And actually, TV and sport is really tiny compared to the rest of our business. We are the smallest part of the BT family, so we are about 300 employees. And as you can imagine, everyone in BT's message is the most important message that they need to get out to their people. So I want to talk a little bit, I think, about kind of what I call like passion time and how much limited passion time our employees really have and how we have to make the most of that. So quick about BT TV and sport. I'll show you a video in a moment that we just showed at the Edinburgh Television Festival. but we are now the UK's fastest growing TV provider. I've been in the role for a year, and in the last year, all down to me, we grew a third. So, you know, I think employees are just a massive part of that. The last financial year, our figures grew by, viewing figures grew by 47%. It massively driven by our exclusive rights with the Champions League and the Europa League, but obviously that was a message that was very hard to get out there and to tell people to get that out. So, you know, employees have just been a huge, huge part of that. And actually BT Sport, you might not realise, we're only just 3 years old, so in July we had our 3-year birthday. We have over 5 million people watch our channel now. So in just 3 years to have that growth, and as I said, 47% growth came last year. In TV, we grew our business by a third last year. So last year we've really seen a big impact. So should we try and see if this video works?
Try and get tech to work. Amazing.
I'm offering you a different path. Nobleness. Eyes.
So it does make me a bit goosebumpy, a bit nervous, but does make me feel very goosebumpy watching that, so proud. And it all kicks off again tonight, so I might as well start doing a bit of social media advocacy. Champions League kicks off all tonight. Gary's back in the studio, so it's a big week. But obviously this is the main event this week. So employee advocacy. So obviously, as I said, being part of a big company has its huge challenges, and I alluded a little bit earlier to what I call like passion time. So people really do have limited passion time at work. All of us have got far too much work to do. We're all working with few colleagues, and every part of our business, from a line manager to your peer to the CEO, all want to talk to you right now, right this second, and it's the most important thing that you have to listen to. So, you know, everyone, it's critical, I think, for our overall strategy for BT Group to deliver what we call sustainable revenue growth. That's our top line, our purpose, that's what we work towards. And for that, our employees have to feel really passionate and really engaged. And I think, you know, BT has had a very progressive, long journey as an organisation, and I think we are really on a massive transformation from turning what was perhaps a very big, kind of monolithic organisation, a bit sort of almost like government bound, to something that's really kind of funky and cool, and a place that really, people are really passionate and want to talk about. And that hasn't always necessarily been how, you know, people wanted to say they worked at BT. It's a bit like, oh, I work at Orion Telecom, you know, and you know, we really want to sort of transform that. And I think our brand story and what we do with TV and sport is key. So employee advocacy, I think if I was to ask you to take away one thing today, and I think it alludes to the question you asked earlier, there is no point asking your employees to advocate for you on social media or online if they're not in a great place and they don't feel that they work for a great place. And you know, showing my age here, but Susie Sue, she sang about happy house, and for me that is a big thing. You kind of got to get your happy house. If you don't work at a happy house, it's, you know, like any house, you're going to still have your arguments. You're still going to, like, you know, fall out with your family, but generally, you know, home is generally a happy place, and that's where you need to get your people to be. And for all of our employee advocacy, I think the models that Giles showed absolutely correct. And this is actually for our digital strategy externally for BT Sport as well. These are the three kind of pillars that we use. So your content, your asset, your strategy, whatever it is that you want to educate about, you need to promote it. You need to do it in a creative way so that it grabs people's attention. As I said, we've got limited passion time in the office, so you have to think about innovative ways to get that message out. Once you've got that and you've got that kind of relationship with that content, then that's when you can start to work with your employees to see how they're willing to amplify that. But until you've kind of got a whole happy house, that's just not going to work. So next slide. So I was just going to give you a few examples of how I think that we've been doing that at BT, not just BT Sport and TV, because I'm conscious that I do have a great creative asset that I can use, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's just very straightforward. It's actually very hard to bring that content to life across BT. And also give you some examples of some of our other work that we've done in consumer with some of our other products. So I think Giles alluded to this earlier. You really do have to create amazing experiences that people are going to want to share. As I said, they were 3 years old in July, and we're about to enter what we are describing as our best season of sport ever. And our external marketing campaign is called 4 Competitions, 1 Venue. You might have seen it on the newspapers this morning. And it's BT Sport is the only place we can get the Premier League, the FA Cup, Champions League, and Europa League. But at the time that we were launching that, we were also, as Giles saying, launching BT Mobile. Huge. That was the biggest strategic focus really for our CEO consumer, was selling mobile to the rest of the business from a strategic point of view. They thought you're kind of in business as usual mode now. We don't have the money to invest in you in terms of your marketing and in your internal marketing as well. So we had to do something really big, really fast, really simple, quite a cost-effective way to get out to our employees very, very quickly. So we created the 4 Competitions trophy tour. So we took the 4 trophies and took them out to all of our call centres and had them there for a day, got everyone to invite their friends and family, school kids. It was the summer holidays, and everyone got to take their selfies with the cups. And we did that in the space of kind of 5 days. We went to 25 centres, from Enniskillen to Truro to Dundee. I was a bit worried about taking some of the cups to Scotland. But all went, they loved it. And we, I'll allude to it today, we have an internal social media channel called My Profile at BT. It's laborious, it's tricky, it's hard, people, it's challenging, but, sadly, one of my sort of personal goals at work was going to nail that. And we did. We had the top trending ever that they've ever had on that Everyone One Venue. We made that very simple. We sort of set up a little hashtag that when people clicked on it, went directly into that site. They didn't have to do anything. You find a lot of people will spell things differently, so you're trying to get your message out, and everyone's spelled everything a little bit differently or whatever. So setting that up, it's quite a cool little learning, I guess, is to try and make sure that everyone automatically just adds that in. We ran a competition as well. I mean, we did a lot of things. We did a lot of message work with our key managers before. We did what we call a leak strategy. So we find this a lot with our content, is that we show it to our employees before we go out to external, and we kind of like to show them stuff that's not quite finished yet, that's kind of half done. We say, shh, no one's seen this yet. You're the first person to see this. You're kind of building up their excitement. They feel really engaged with this content, that they're part of that journey. Don't tell anyone yet, but really we want them to start telling everyone at that moment. So that's kind of quite a nice thing that we've learned as well. Similarly, so as well as BT Sport, we have another kind of free channel which is called AMC, which is our, I guess, version of trying to get against Sky Atlantic. And we have a big show on there called Fear the Walking Dead. It's kind of a sister show to The Walking Dead. So again, to bring that brilliant experience for just one day, we called it our Zelfie Day. So if anyone has zombie selfie. And we just basically sent out zombies to all the call centres on this one day and had our Delphi day. It was, the weather said it was going to be hot, didn't it, Hannah? But it rained. But we arranged ice cream vans anyway, and we had zombies serving ice cream and all of this great fun. And we've done a lot of internal competitions with that. I'll show you how that works. But I think one of our key findings as well is treat your employees like you would your consumers. You know, do fun stuff with them. You know, boring email is just not going to nail it. You have to have just lots of different experiences and lots of different fun things. So, and actually, Zelfie Day, we actually got a couple of the cast to pick their favourite selfies, and it was really, really cool. We got them to just video that on iPhone, and they picked a couple of the selfies, and they got to sign them a photo. So that was really exciting. This is probably a little bit more kind of like how you can think about your more traditional corporate communication, and I think Giles is going to ask me this question later, but I think this is one of the things that I think I've been most proud of, is how we have been able to inject the TV and sport culture and start to use it to influence and change BT's wider corporate culture, start to make the company feel that it's okay just to kick back and relax a little bit. It doesn't have to be so serious all of the time. So this is our CEO, John Petter. So he's responsible for, as I said, like 24% of BT's £24 billion revenue. He's got a tough job. We always traditionally have done these quarterly updates after the results, lectern, stand in front of it, suit, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, now we've just really started to change this. I mean, yes, okay, yeah, you've got a big TV studio, Vicky, you're very lucky, but actually this is the first time we've done that. Last time we did it in our traditional kind of lecture style, but we still brought the same production values to it. So we had sofas, you know, you can, like you would do for your external events, you would rent in a bit of furniture, you would rent in a bookshelf, you can do all that really brilliantly. You can just make like a sitting room environment for a brand like BT. That's, you know, you want your people to think about home and, you know, work. So we did this, you know, coach John, like, John, can you just, you know, can you wear that jacket with the patches on and your jeans? And he's like, yeah, of course, you know. And then we do have slides because we webcast this, so this is a live webcast, and we get everyone in our call centres to congregate in big areas together, and we have a big breakfast, and we beam out live to them. But he's not sitting there with a clicker, he's not force-fed what he has to say next. You're just giving him open questions that he has to answer. He just speaks, his tone changes, he's just soft, he just feels nice. And I just went and got a bit of, included some kind of feedback that we had there, and then I reached out to some of the call centre advisors that were part of this experience, and I didn't get it in time to put it on here today, but we did selfies afterwards with John and Jake, and the selfie with Jake got 20 likes, and the selfie with John, our CEO, got more likes than Jake, and this was on his Facebook page. And then John said, you know, for the CEO of BT Consumer, this is John, and he's a very down-to-earth bloke. You know, we do look a bit of a before and after there. I think so, their glasses are a bit bald, but it was like, wow, that is what you want your people to be saying about your CEO. He's just a down-to-earth bloke. He's a really nice guy, and you know, he's a team member, and John is the CEO. The levels within our organisation of that person to that are huge, and we just, you know, we shrunk that in a day. And I think, you know, Giles was alluding to what some of our kind of business results are. So I think, you know, we have across the 7 organisations the highest engagement level of the rest of the business. So 80% of our people are proud to work at BT. This for me is like my key measure. So 89% of consumer understand our strategy, our purpose, and how their work contributes to that. So that for me is you know, our kind of key measure. And as I said, also the growth that we've seen in sport and TV as well. Those numbers don't come from just call centre advisors alone, because actually the message is quite complicated. The big strategic driver for them is to sell broadband. So I think a lot of that's definitely driven by our employees and talking to their friends and family. So yeah, so you've got to kind of sweat your assets a bit. So as I said, you know, BT Digital is boring telecom, and its channels are a bit boring. And they just couldn't cope actually with the content that we had. So when we started a year ago, I had a TV company, but no one was actually watching any clips or promos. You know, we were just sending out articles going, we launched a new TV show, 200 words on a new TV show. You know, film with it. Like, why can't we do that? You know, oh, well, the systems can't cope with that. Far too much, 700 megabytes, crash BT, you know, all of that. Oh. So, and that was really frustrating because a lot of the stuff we do is done in-house. I was like, it's madness, you know. So we created our own content channel called TV and Sport Creative, your home for exclusive employee content, comps and chatter. There is no long message here from the CEO welcome to our exciting new webpage. There's none of that. It's just straight into the imagery. We can run about, like, this is just SharePoint, so it's nothing fancy, but we can run about, I think at the moment we've got about 20 videos on this carousel. And also it means that you've got access to embed codes and download links as well. So next phase of this is really to start democratising this a lot more within our organisation and directing our managers to the fact that they can just get those embed codes, they can download this film, they can use that for their huddles, you know, change your team meeting and make it a lot more fun now. You know, I hope that some of you got a bit of a goosebump when you watched that video before, and you know, that's what I would like, you know, when our call centre guys are getting together, that they create that moment with their people. And then the second part, your partner relationship. So when I joined, you know, it was a real struggle actually. I had to go down to the guys and say, have you got anything for good competition? They're like, oh, no, the guys don't, it's just all for PR, we just use it for PR, we just use it for PR. And I was like, you're crazy, why would you do that? You know, no offence, I know I'm at a PR agency, sorry darling. But, you know, you put a competition in, yes, you'll get hits or you'll do a piece of coverage and you'll get hits, but you can't really guarantee that someone read that message. And I'm like, we've got 100 and at the time 90, now we've got 102,000 employees. You know, if we communicate about something, you know, they are already engaged in that content. So we basically did a sales pitch, started off with one competition. You know, our opportunities to see are, I mean, I was just doing a rough calculation in my head of 7 businesses, all the different channels we have. You know, probably about 500,000 opportunities to see, really. I've put 370 there, but I think you can just keep increasing it. And now with Disney, HBO, AMC, we go out, oh well, when we ran this competition, Disney gave us this, we had 6,000 hits, etc. So we've really now got a fantastic relationship with those vendors, and we show them, you know, you're going to get your video on there, you're going to get this, you're definitely guaranteed an audience of 102,000 people, which they wouldn't necessarily get with a piece of PR. So that, again, has been really important. In the last 6 months, we've had over 24,000 entries to our competitions that we've ran. So, you know, that's huge. That's, you know, a quarter of our employee base that actively engage in our content and what we're trying to do. And I think also it's changed the commentary. I think, you know, a couple of years ago, you know, our employees are our worst critics. You know, they are really harsh about, you know, our products, and we've seen a sea change now in the way that they, you know, talk about our products online internally. You know, when our shows, wow, this is exciting, this is great. You know, it's definitely seen change the sentiment, I think. So this is not actually TV and sport, but these guys are just totally critical. They're our call centre guys, and I don't know if you know, obviously you're probably aware that BT has a massive customer service challenge. That's the thing that we kind of get kicked. That and digital Britain are the 2 things that we probably get kicked for the most. So we have a massive transformation programme in our customer care area at the moment, and you know, we have a vow to get 90% of our calls UK, so not through sort of offshore call centres. But to enable that, we want our employees to think about other channels of choice and to use online channels. So apps, you know, if you've got a problem with BT or a query about your bill, download our BT app. So we had a tool that enabled advisors to text employees and let them know how to download the app, but it was because of that limited passion time that I was talking about earlier. that message was just one of a zillion that they probably had to kind of understand that week. So, you know, our volumes here of people kind of using that tool and sending out to employees was nil, basically. So we created like a month, so bringing together, I guess, all of the different things that we've shown you now, all of those different, you know, experiences, view channels, etc. Brought it all together and did like what we called an @sprint campaign, and Hannah, who's here today from our team, really lead this, and it was an incredible piece of work. A big thing that we attached to it was actually rewards and incentives, and I think this is astounding. We only had £1,000 for rewards and incentives to run this campaign, and literally it was things, you know, red letter days, or have a purple party, or just, you know, £20. You know, if you send out the most text, you'll get £20 bonus today, and they went mad for it. And these are, you know, 101,000 texts went out in just this sprint month. And you can see where we had kind of like concentrated experiences. There were Bonanza Day, Winning Wednesday, Frappuccino Friday. So all of those different techniques that I just shared with you earlier, all coming together in this one campaign. And 21,000 downloads of the software to text. And now our downloaders at 850,000 customers have downloaded that app now, which is just huge and a massive strategic win for us, because the cost of a UK call is 6 times more expensive than an Indian call. So while we've committed to bringing 90% of our calls onshore, we can't, you know, to take all of those as a call would just be crazy. We need to find new channels and cheaper channels for our customers to feel comfortable using. And again, you would never have got this without our people feeling that they were, you know, happy about what it was they had to do. So the final little house in my happy house was amplification. I mean, we have seen a lot of amplification online on external social media channels from all of those campaigns that I showed you, but that was never the objective. That was the kind of byproduct of it. But that is, I guess, a little bit more of a next stage for the BT group as a whole. So we're going to work with Social Chorus, who we had a trial in place with them, and we've now got 5,000 licenses, so 5,000 advocates that we will use for the Social Chorus platform to then give them much more aggregated content that they can use and share. So that will link up with all of our our BT Sport Facebook pages and Twitter pages, our TV pages, global services, all of our BT's kind of Twitter handles, etc. will all be aggregated onto this platform, and then, you know, we will have advocates that can then use that as a tool. So that's kind of a big next step, and actually I think we'll see a lot more messaging. I think obviously around sports a big thing, but also about what we're doing in digital and broadband, what we're doing with, you know, creating faster connectivity around the UK. It's a big area, and actually John Petter, our CEO at Hughes, with Gavin Patterson, BT Group CEO, it's huge for him, you know, internal communications and employee communications, it's important for him.
So thank you.